Welcome to this episode of the Kunzy podcast English. Today, we reflect on a monumental event that has taken the world by surprise. The passing of Pope Francis leaves us all with many questions about what comes next. As we ponder his legacy and the future of the Catholic Church, we'll explore what could lie ahead for the Church after his departure. Part 1. An era of change. Pope Francis, one of the most significant religious figures of the 21st century, has left a profound mark not only on the Catholic Church, but also on the global community. He was not just a religious leader, but a model of humility and compassion. Throughout his papacy, Pope Francis consistently pushed for revolutionary changes within the Church, from his views on social justice to environmental protection and the restoration of unity among the faithful. His tenure went through many ups and downs, but no matter the difficulty, Pope Francis maintained faith in the Church's ability to transform, affirming that each stage in history is an opportunity for the Church to rediscover itself and grow stronger. However, like any leader, Pope Francis could not remain forever. And with his departure, the world was shaken, and a crucial question was raised. What will happen to the Church after the departure of such a towering leader? The Catholic Church, throughout its history, has always faced immense challenges. Times when the Church grappled with crises of faith, power struggles, and societal changes have always appeared as challenges, yet they were also opportunities for the Church to rediscover its identity and adapt to the fluctuations of the time. The history of the Catholic Church is a story of rebirth after challenges, of upholding core values in a world that is constantly changing. When Pope Francis passed away, it was not only a great loss for the Church, but also a significant milestone for all those who have been following and concerned with the development of the religious world. Pope Francis was not an ordinary religious leader. He was a symbol of a new era, an era in which the Church was not only a center of faith, but also a driving force for social change. He awakened in the hearts of millions new inspirations, reminding us of the importance of compassion, sharing, and the protection of the planet we live on. But now, with Pope Francis gone, a great challenge faces the Catholic Church. We stand before an uncertain future, and contemplating the next steps is essential. In a world that is becoming increasingly complex, where traditional values and modern perspectives may clash, how can the Church continue to develop and maintain unity among the faithful? The departure of Pope Francis could also be seen as a moment of transition, a significant milestone marking the end of an era and the beginning of a new one. However, no one can predict what the future holds. Will the Church continue down the path that Pope Francis laid out? Or will there be significant changes in leadership style and the priorities the Church will pursue? This question is not simply about finding a successor to Pope Francis. It is a question about the future of the Church in the context of an ever-changing world, where technology, culture, and society deeply influence traditional values. The Church cannot live in isolation from the modern world, but it also cannot lose its identity. Therefore, finding a new pope is not just about selecting a capable leader, but about finding someone who can continue the ideals that Pope Francis inspired, while also adapting the Church to meet the challenges of the new era. Pope Francis showed the world that the Church is not just a religious institution, but also a community, a source of encouragement, and a beacon for those seeking comfort and guidance. But with his passing, the Church will face important questions about its identity, mission, and role in a rapidly changing world. Can the faithful continue to view the Church as a steadfast anchor in difficult times? Or will this loss create a void that may be hard to fill? The Catholic Church has always been a strong institution, with millions of followers around the world. However, change is an inseparable part of any organization, and the Church is no exception. In fact, each period in the history of the Church has had its own challenges and opportunities. While we cannot predict the future, it is certain that the Church will remain an essential part of the lives of billions of people worldwide. We can say that the departure of Pope Francis has closed a chapter in the Church's history, but at the same time, it opens up a new opportunity for the next step. His legacy will forever be a guiding light, but the future of the Church will depend on how we embrace and respond to the changes, the new demands that the world is placing on us. And while the world is still mourning, a great question remains: where will the Church go in the years ahead? With the challenges ahead, we cannot turn a blind eye. As Pope Francis once shared, nothing in this world is stable except change. And in life, change always comes with new opportunities, new hope. Thus, despite the concerns about the future, we still have reason to believe that the Church will continue to move forward, continue to change, and continue to grow. Part 2. The legacy of compassion. The legacy of Pope Francis is not only found in the policies he implemented or the reforms he introduced. His greatest gift may very well be his focus on compassion. From the moment he began his papacy, he became known for always reaching out to the forgotten, the impoverished, and the suffering. He preached a message of inclusion, urging the world to recognize the less fortunate and treat them with love and dignity. Pope Francis' approach to refugees, his stance on climate change, and his efforts to heal divisions within the Church are clear examples of his deep commitment to human dignity. These values will continue to resonate, not just within the Church, but across the entire world. But it wasn't just through words that Pope Francis left his mark. It was through his actions, his trips, his gestures, and his constant reminders that the Church must be a field hospital for the wounded. He showed the world that true leadership is not about commanding from a distance, but about walking beside those who suffer. His willingness to wash the feet of prisoners, embrace the homeless, and speak out for those without a voice became symbols of a love that transcended the walls of the Vatican. The impact of Pope Francis' message of compassion is invaluable. It has touched the hearts of millions, inspiring them to act and expand their understanding of the pain of the marginalized. His words were not just theories. They were calls to action for a more just and inclusive world. And now, as we face an uncertain future, the question arises, will his successor continue to carry this flame of compassion, or will the Church take a different direction? Under Pope Francis, the Church was not just a religious institution, it was a living testament to the power of compassion. It was a reminder that faith is not just about worship, but also about how we treat each other in this world. Pope Francis' legacy is a challenge to each of us, not just to reflect on, but to live it out concretely by addressing the urgent needs of the world. This legacy will continue to echo, but its future is uncertain. As we look ahead, the question remains, will the Church continue to be a beacon of compassion in this world? Or will there be a significant shift in its priorities and direction? While the answer is uncertain, one thing is clear. The legacy of compassion that Pope Francis leaves behind will never be forgotten. Whether or not the Church will continue the path that Pope Francis charted, his legacy will remain a powerful source of inspiration. And while the world still mourns, one big question remains. Where will the Church go in the coming years? With the challenges ahead, we cannot ignore them. As Pope Francis once said, nothing in this world is stable except for change. And in life, change always brings new opportunities, new hope. So, despite the concerns about the future, we have reason to believe that the Church will continue to move forward, continue to change, and continue to grow. Part 3. The process of choosing a successor. The process of selecting a new pope, known as the conclave, is a profound event that is conducted with great care and precision. Cardinals from all over the world gather in complete secrecy, separated entirely from the public eye, to vote for the leader who will guide the Church into the future. While this process is steeped in tradition and ancient rituals, it is far from predictable. Each new pope brings their own vision, leadership style, and unique set of challenges. As we stand at this pivotal moment, one question arises. What qualities must the successor to Pope Francis possess to lead the Church through the turbulence of the modern world? And can this election meet the expectations of those who long for a brighter future for the Church in an ever-changing world? The new leader of the Church will face numerous challenges, both internal and external. Internally, the Catholic Church is confronted with the need for deep reform. Issues such as the concentration of power within the Church, the diversity of thought, and the challenge of maintaining unity among believers are problems that cannot be ignored. Additionally, the need to modernize the way the Church communicates and organizes its liturgies is urgent, as society and technology continue to evolve at a rapid pace. Externally, the Church must contend with immense pressure from the shifting social, political, and cultural trends. The traditional values of Catholicism are being tested by new movements and perspectives, ranging from issues of LGBTQ+ rights, women's rights within the Church, to the protection of refugees and the poor. Furthermore, the issue of climate change and environmental protection which Pope Francis has given special attention to during his papacy, will remain a significant challenge for the successor. The future of the Catholic Church will not only depend on how the new leader addresses these internal issues or external conflicts, but also on their ability to offer a new vision for the Church in the modern world. Today's world is changing rapidly, with the profound effects of globalization, technology, and shifts in social thinking. The Church must find a way to meet the needs of a younger generation of believers who are not only seeking spiritual solace, but also desire connection, social justice, and protection of global issues. Moreover, the successor will need to restore the trust of believers who have lost faith in the Church due to past crises, such as the clergy sexual abuse scandals and criticism of the lack of transparency and accountability within the Church's ranks. These disappointed followers, at times feeling disconnected from the Church, will present a significant challenge for the new Pope, who must work to rebuild their trust. Amid all these challenges, the new Pope will need strong and wise leadership. A leader must not only understand the difficulties the Church faces, but also have the courage to make bold decisions when necessary. However, beyond leadership skills, human qualities are indispensable. The Church still needs a leader who embodies compassion, who values human dignity, mercy, and justice. These qualities will help the Church stay connected to the marginalized, the vulnerable in society, and set an example for all those seeking solace and hope. One crucial question many are asking today is whether the successor will continue the work and mission started by Pope Francis. Will the new leader continue to champion social justice, protect the poor, care for the vulnerable, or will there be significant changes in the direction of the Church? Believers around the world are eagerly waiting for answers to this question, and the decision of the cardinals in the conclave will determine whether the Church will stay the course set by Pope Francis, or take a new direction, with its own unique challenges and opportunities. Regardless of the outcome, the conclave process is a significant moment, not only for the Catholic Church, but for all those who observe the development of religious organizations and global community. It is a journey to find a leader who can carry the Church through the challenges of the 21st century and make decisions that will have a long-lasting impact on the Church's development. As the world watches in anticipation, the big question is not just who will be elected, but what that leader will bring to the Church in a time of such upheaval. With all the issues and challenges the Church faces, selecting a worthy successor will decide the future of an entire community of believers. Will the new Pope be one who preserves the long-held traditions, or will they be a pioneer in reforming the Church and creating a new path for the future? In a world of constant change, the Church cannot remain stagnant, but it also cannot abandon the core values that define its identity. This is a difficult and important decision, and we will all have to wait and witness this journey unfold. Part 4. The future of the Catholic Church. The future of the Catholic Church will undoubtedly be shaped by the decisions of the successor of Pope Francis, but it will also be influenced by broader societal changes that are currently unfolding. We live in a world where divisions are deepening, where questions about faith are more pressing than ever, and where traditions that have stood for centuries are being questioned. The world around us is evolving rapidly, and the Catholic Church, like all institutions, must adapt to the challenges of a changing world. But the Church must do so without losing sight of its core values, values that have provided spiritual guidance and comfort for billions of people for centuries. As we reflect on what the future holds, it is clear that the Catholic Church will face numerous challenges in the years ahead. The question is whether the new Pope will have the wisdom and courage necessary to guide the Church through these challenges, while staying true to its essential mission. This task is far from easy, for the world today is not the same as it was even a decade ago. Globalization, technological advances, and shifts in cultural norms have dramatically altered the landscape of religion and spirituality, and the Church must find a way to navigate this complex terrain. Perhaps one of the most significant challenges the new Pope will face is the question of how to address the issues that Pope Francis has made central to his papacy. Pope Francis has been a powerful advocate for social justice, focusing on issues such as climate change, poverty, and the rights of marginalized groups. His voice has resonated with millions of people, especially those who feel abandoned by society, and his leadership has been a beacon of hope for many. But as his papacy draws to a close, the question remains, Will his successor continue to champion these causes, or will there be a shift in focus? The issue of climate change is one that cannot be ignored. The effects of global warming are already evident, and the Church, as a global institution, has a unique opportunity and responsibility to lead in this area. Pope Francis has made it clear that caring for the environment is not just a political issue, but a moral one. It is a matter of stewardship, of protecting the earth for future generations, and of showing compassion for the poor and vulnerable, who are often the hardest hit by environmental degradation. Will the next pope continue this fight, or will the Church retreat from this urgent cause? Similarly, the issue of poverty and inequality will remain at the forefront of the Church's mission. Pope Francis has been a vocal critic of economic systems that exploit the poor and concentrate wealth in the hands of the few. His call for a culture of encounter, one that emphasizes solidarity and the dignity of every person, has resonated deeply with those who feel left behind by society's economic system. But as the world continues to grapple with economic crises, social unrest, and widening inequality, will the new pope continue to stand with the poor, or will the Church retreat from its commitment to social justice? Another question that will loom large for the new pope is the role of women in the Church. This is a matter that Pope Francis has not ignored, but his efforts to reform the role of women in the Church have been seen by some as too cautious. While he has appointed more women to key positions in the Vatican, and has spoken out about the importance of women in the Church, many believe that more needs to be done. Will the next pope take a bolder approach to women's rights within the Church? Or will the traditional stance on gender roles remain unchanged? The question of reform within the Church is another critical issue. Pope Francis has taken steps to address some of the long-standing issues within the Church, such as the sexual abuse scandal, the concentration of power in the Vatican, and the need for greater transparency and accountability. However, many argue that more needs to be done to overhaul the structures of power within the Church, and make it more inclusive and responsive to the needs of the faithful. Will the new pope continue the work of reform, or will the Church resist change and hold on to its traditional power structures? As the Catholic Church faces these and other challenges, it is important to remember that the Church is not just an institution, but a living, breathing community of believers. For millions of people around the world, the Church provides a sense of belonging, a moral compass, and a source of hope in times of despair. The new pope will need to ensure that the Church continues to be a place where people can find solace, strength, and spiritual nourishment. In a world that is increasingly divided, the Church must be a force for unity, reconciliation, and peace. The question that looms over the future of the Church is not just about what the next pope will do, but how the Church will adapt to the changing world around it. Will the Church remain relevant in a world where people are increasingly questioning religious institutions, or will it become obsolete? Will the Church continue to provide moral guidance and leadership, or will it become a relic of the past? These are difficult questions, but they are questions that must be asked if the Church is to remain a vital force in the world. As we look to the future, we can hope that the new pope will be a leader who is able to balance tradition and reform, who will stand firm in the face of challenges while remaining open to change. The future of the Church depends on its ability to adapt to the needs of the modern world while remaining true to the message of love, compassion, and justice that has been at its core for over 2,000 years. In the end, the Catholic Church's greatest strength has always been its ability to evolve and grow, to meet the challenges of the times while staying grounded in its faith. If the new pope can continue this legacy, the Church will continue to thrive and remain a source of hope and inspiration for generations to come. In conclusion, the future of the Catholic Church is uncertain, but it is also full of possibility. The decisions made by the next pope will shape the course of the Church for years to come, but those decisions will also be influenced by the changing world around us. It is up to all of us, leaders and followers alike, to ensure that the Church remains a force for good in the world, a beacon of hope and compassion in a time of great need. As we move forward, we must continue to ask ourselves, what kind of Church do we want to be? What kind of future do we want to build together? The answers to these questions will define the future of the Catholic Church, and the role it will play in the world for generations to come. Part 5. The Church in Transition. The Catholic Church, like any large institution, is always undergoing change and transformation. It is an organization with a long history, intertwined with social, cultural, and political shifts throughout the ages. However, one of the Church's greatest challenges is how to maintain and protect the core values of the faith, while also responding to and adapting to the rapid and constant changes of the modern world. In the coming years, the Church may undergo a profound period of transformation, a time when it will need to be more open, flexible, and closer to the world and humanity. Looking back at the Church's journey through history, we can see that change and evolution have always been an inseparable part of its development. Each era has had its own unique challenges, external and internal forces that have pushed the Church into difficult situations, requiring it to seek new paths to continue surviving and growing. The Church cannot remain static, because if it does, it risks becoming an outdated institution, no longer reflecting the needs, desires, and issues of people in the new era. One of the most striking characteristics of today's age is the rapid development of technology and communication. The world is no longer easily distinguishable by cultures, nations, religions, or ethnicity. Through the internet and social media platforms, information, ideas, and perspectives can spread rapidly, connecting people and creating deep bonds, but also highlighting differences and division. In this context, the Church faces the challenge of maintaining unity and solidarity while still respecting and listening to the diverse perspectives from around the world. The Catholic Church has always emphasized the importance of unity and love between people, but how can it achieve this in a world that is increasingly polarized, where each individual, each community, has its own issues, aspirations, and distinct viewpoints? Can the Church become a true bridge between cultures and religions, promoting peace, understanding, and tolerance while still preserving its own identity? Pope Francis, throughout his tenure, has always sought to build bridges between religions, communities, and culture. He has advocated for opening the doors of the Church to those who have been forgotten, the poor, the marginalized, and those facing enormous challenges in life. He has called on people, regardless of their faith or nationality, to seek unity, love, and compassion for one another. However, the challenge lies in whether the successor pope will continue this work and be able to create a church that is truly connected to the world, without losing the core values of the Catholic faith. To achieve this, the Church will face no small number of challenges. Change within the Church is never an easy process. The Church is a highly structured organization with millions of followers around the world, each with their own beliefs, thoughts, and expectations. Not everyone agrees on the new directions the Church may take. Change can make some feel uneasy or fearful of losing the traditional values and principles they have always held dear. This makes building consensus within the Church an incredibly difficult task. The cardinals, who will play a key role in selecting the next pope, may have differing views on how the Church should evolve in the future. Some may support strong reforms, while others may want to uphold traditional values and principles. In this context, the successor pope will need to be a leader capable of uniting different factions, reconciling divisions, and creating a unified Church that is strong in love and compassion. One of the most important areas the Church needs to focus on in the coming years is building a deeper relationship with the world outside. The Church cannot just exist in a closed space, disconnected from the major issues of society. The world is changing every day, and challenges like climate change, poverty, social inequality, and political polarization are affecting every country, every community. The Church needs to be a strong and influential voice on these issues, not just for the benefit of its own followers, but for the benefit of all humanity. One thing that cannot be overlooked is the need to maintain a strong relationship between the Church and other religions. In today's multi-faith world, interfaith dialogue is crucial. The Church needs to build bridges between different religious communities, promoting understanding and mutual respect. This doesn't mean the Church will abandon its values, but it does mean learning how to live peacefully and cooperate with those who hold different beliefs. The tolerance and compassion the Church always strives for should not only be for those who share the same faith, but for everyone, regardless of what they believe. In the coming years, we can expect a Church that is capable of quickly adapting to the changes in society while still maintaining the core values of the faith. The Church will face many challenges, but if it can hold firm to the belief in love and unity, it can remain a source of strength and hope for millions of people around the world. No matter how difficult the road ahead may be, the Church will always need courageous leaders, full of compassion, and ready to face the challenges ahead in order to lead the Church to a brighter future. Part 6. The impact of Pope Francis' departure. While we await the emergence of the next Pope, we must take a moment to reflect on the profound impact that Pope Francis has had on the Church and the world. His departure marks the end of one chapter, but also the beginning of a new one. In the years to come, we will look back at Pope Francis' papacy as a time when the Church took bold steps to address the most urgent issues facing the world. His leadership will continue to inspire and challenge future generations of Catholics, as well as those outside the Church. Pope Francis' papacy has been characterized by a focus on compassion, social justice, and a call for greater solidarity among people, especially the marginalized. His emphasis on caring for the poor, combating climate change, and advocating for peace and reconciliation has set a new tone for the Church, one that is outward-looking and deeply committed to addressing the world's most pressing needs. His approach to leadership was inclusive, emphasizing dialogue and cooperation with people of all faiths and backgrounds. His efforts to foster understanding and bridge divides within the Church and across religious communities will be remembered as some of his most significant contributions. Pope Francis' leadership encouraged the faithful to embrace a more compassionate and open-minded approach to issues such as poverty, immigration, and the environment. As we move forward, the legacy of Pope Francis will continue to shape the Church's direction. The next Pope will undoubtedly inherit a Church that is more attuned to the realities of the modern world and more committed to social justice and human dignity. The challenge for the next leader will be to build upon the foundation that Pope Francis has laid, continuing the work of healing, reconciliation, and outreach. Pope Francis' departure also raises important questions about the future of the papacy and the Church's role in a rapidly changing world. As the world continues to evolve, the Church will need to adapt while staying true to its core teaching. The next Pope will face the task of leading the Church through these changes, ensuring that it remains a beacon of hope, love, and unity in a time of division and uncertainty. Ultimately, the impact of Pope Francis' papacy will be felt for generations to come. His example of humility, compassion, and courage will continue to guide the Church as it navigates the challenges of the future. The next Pope will have the opportunity to carry forward the legacy of a leader who transformed the Church and inspired millions around the world to live out the values of the gospel in their everyday lives. Conclusion. As we wrap up today's podcast, we are reminded that the Catholic Church has always been a beacon of hope, even in the darkest of times. The departure of Pope Francis marks a turning point, but it is not the end of the journey. The Church will continue, and it will keep evolving, just as it has for centuries. The future remains uncertain in many ways, but one thing is clear: the legacy of Pope Francis will continue to shape the Church for many years to come. The values he tirelessly built, such as compassion, reconciliation, and social justice, will remain the firm foundation for the Church as it moves forward. And as we look to the future, we must ask ourselves, what role will we play in the next chapter of the Church? We, each of us as believers, have the responsibility to continue this mission. We are not just heirs to Pope Francis's legacy, but also co-builders of the future of the Church, a Church that is open, inclusive, and always focused on humane values. Therefore, while the path ahead may be challenging and uncertain, we can be sure that only by remaining steadfast and united will the Church continue to be a guiding light, shining in the darkest moments, and bringing hope to humanity. If you enjoyed today's podcast, please like, share, and subscribe to the Kunzy Podcast English. Stay tuned for more reflections on the major events shaping our world.